This is the Me-163 Komet, the only rocket-powered fighter aircraft ever built in large numbers and actually used in real combat. In 1941, an early version of this aircraft became the first plane in history to exceed 1,000 km/h in level flight, a speed no other fighter of the era could even approach. The Me-163 was designed for one very specific mission: intercept Allied bombers at extreme speed, strike quickly, and escape before escort fighters could react. This story focuses on the Me-163B1A, the main production version that saw combat between 1944 and 1945. A compact but radical design, the Me-163 was surprisingly small for such an advanced machine. It stood just 8 feet tall, measured 19 feet long, and had a wingspan of 30 feet, roughly half the length of a modern school bus. The fuselage was built using a semi-monocoque structure, made primarily from duralumin and steel, with internal bulkheads dividing the aircraft into sections: nose, cockpit, fuel tanks, engine, and tail. Each section was bolted together, making maintenance and repairs relatively quick. Because the aircraft's onboard batteries were limited, German engineers added a small wind-driven generator in the nose, which supplied power to radios, instruments, and weapons during flight. Wings built for speed and gliding. The Me-163's wings were one of its most advanced features. They were thick, swept back at 25 degrees, and optimized for high subsonic flight. This gave the aircraft excellent stability and made it an exceptionally effective glider once engine power was gone. The wings were largely built from plywood, using a forward box spar and a rear spar, reinforced with laminated wood and strong adhesive bonding. A fixed wing slot near the leading edge helped reduce stall speed, improving control during landing. Each wing also carried fuel tanks for sea-stuff and housed the aircraft's main weapons, two 30mm Mk-108 cannons. Unconventional controls. Because the rocket exhaust produced extreme heat, traditional tail stabilizers and elevators could not be used. Instead, the Me-163 relied on elevons, control surfaces that combined the functions of elevators and ailerons. Pitch and roll were controlled entirely through these elevons, while yaw was managed by a large rudder mounted on the vertical fin. The aircraft did not taxi on the ground. It was towed into position before takeoff. Weapons built to destroy bombers. The Me-163 was armed with two Mk-108 30mm cannons, specifically designed to destroy heavy bombers. Each cannon fired at 650 rounds per minute, and a full ammunition load could be expended in under 6 seconds. The shells carried thin walls, packed with explosive, devastating against aircraft structures. Where 20mm guns often required dozens of hits, the Me-163 could destroy a B-17 with just 4 hits. Allied crews nicknamed the Mk-108 the pneumatic hammer due to its heavy pounding sound. The rocket engine that changed everything. At the heart of the Me-163 was the Walter WWII 195 rocket engine, producing up to 3,527 pounds of thrust. The engine used 2 hypergolic fuels: T-Stoff, a hydrogen peroxide mixture acting as oxidizer; C-Stoff, a methanol and hydrazine fuel. When these liquids met, they ignited instantly. No spark required. Fuel capacity allowed the engine to run at full power for just 7.12 minutes, barely enough for climb, attack, and return. A deadly fuel system. The fuel was extremely dangerous. T-Stoff could dissolve organic tissue on contact, meaning even a small leak could be fatal. Pilots wore heavy protective suits, and fuel tanks were cushioned to reduce friction and prevent leaks. Despite precautions, fuel accidents caused many injuries and deaths. Cockpit and pilot challenges. The Me-163 had a single-seat, unpressurized cockpit. Pilots underwent special training and even followed low-fiber diets to prevent internal gas expansion during the aircraft's rapid climb. Instruments were tightly packed, with airspeed, altitude, climb rate, engine RPM, fuel pressure, and thrust indicators all essential for survival. Instead of a traditional throttle, pilots selected preset power levels, controlling the rocket's thrust in stages. Takeoff, like no other aircraft. The Me-163 took off using a wheeled dolly, since landing gear would add too much weight. After liftoff, the dolly was released mid-air and fell away. Once free, the pilot pitched the aircraft into a 70-degree climb, something no other WWII fighter could match. The Me-163 could climb at 266 feet per second, reaching 39,000 feet in under 4 minutes, then cruise at over 550 mph. Combat at extreme speed. Pilots usually had fuel for only 2 attack passes. They would intercept bomber formations at incredible speed, leaving only seconds to aim and fire. Because the aircraft flew at nearly half the speed of its own shells, pilots had to aim far ahead of their targets. Defensive fire from bombers was largely ineffective due to the Me-163's speed and small profile. The most dangerous phase, landing. Once fuel was gone, the Mi-163 became a pure glider, making it vulnerable to enemy fighters. Most Mi-163 losses occurred during this powerless return or after landing. Touchdown happened at around 140 Malrub, using a landing skid that absorbed shock poorly. Hard landings often resulted in crashes, sometimes rupturing fuel tanks with deadly consequences. A brilliant but desperate weapon, the Mi-163 was both revolutionary and deeply flawed. It introduced rocket propulsion to combat aviation but suffered from short endurance, extreme danger, and limited training opportunities. Its combat record stands at 9 confirmed kills, against 14 combat losses, plus numerous accidents. The Mi-163. Komet remains one of the most extraordinary aircraft ever built, a symbol of engineering brilliance under desperate wartime conditions.